Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll finish up section 4 here. And this is the later people of the Fertile Crescent. The Babylonians end up conquering Mesopotamia. Hammurabi was a Babylonian king. He is very, very famous because he came up with a set of laws called the Hammurabi's Code. It was 282 laws he created that dealt with almost every aspect of life. We'll look at some of them here in a little bit. But this is the main guy in this section. You can get a lot of facts, or your 3 facts could just be about Hammurabi. 1, he created the Hammurabi's Code, which was 282 laws. He was the greatest monarch in Babylonian history. He was the ruler of a kingdom. He was a brilliant war leader who brought all of Mesopotamia into the Babylonian Empire. He was an architect that oversaw buildings. He oversaw irrigation projects. He improved the tax system. We talked about the law. And here it is. It was 282 laws, which contain some ideas that we still use in our laws today. Specific crimes brought specific penalties. Social class was taken into account. Still happens today. If you're very rich, chances are you can hire a great lawyer, and it in their society, in our society, whether it's right or not, if you injured a rich guy, you got a more serious crime than injuring a poor guy. It was unique not only because of how thorough it was, but for the first time, this is the first time that laws were actually written down for all to see. Armies then fought for control after he died. Many different people tried to rule Mesopotamia after his death: the Hittites, the Kassites, the Assyrians, and the Chaldeans. Each group affected the culture of the region. The Hittites and Kassites. Hittites were the first to master ironworking, so they came up with the strongest weapons. They created chariots using wheels and horses to draw a little cart that allowed movement around the battlefield quickly. They were overtaken by the Kassites, and the Kassites ruled this area for 40 years. The Assyrians then came up, and they used the chariots and iron weapons against the Kassites. They looted and burned crops. They ruled the empire through local leaders who governed a small area, kind of like a president who has governors to rule the states. And they demanded heavy taxes. They were defeated by the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans, one of the people that is very famous, also mentioned in the Bible, is Nebuchadnezzar. He built Babylon into a beautiful city. He built one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, which was the Hanging Gardens. He put forth Sumerian culture. He admired it, studied their language, and built temples to their gods. And then it became also a center for astronomy. Then it was overtaken by the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians, their main thing that they did was cedar trees for timber. They used this to build ships. They sailed around the Mediterranean. They created new colonies. But what they're very famous for is coming up with an alphabet, which recorded their activities and made it very easy to write, and it actually is the basis for our alphabet and our language. So that's a good fact there. Who is the basis for the English language and alphabet, and that would be the Phoenicians. Here is a city-state. As we can see, here's the farmland around the outside. Here's the wall. You can see how they used canals and trenches to irrigate and control through the city. You would come into the city, park your boat, and then you could take your walkway through. There's a ziggurat. There's the houses. There's the business section. So pretty neat. That was the city-state. Hammurabi's Code: if a man put out the eye of another man, his eye shall be put out, kind of the eye for an eye. If he breaks another man's bones, his bones shall be broken. If he put on the eye of a free man or break the bone of a free man, he shall pay 1 gold mina. put out the eye of a man's slave or break the bone of a man's slave, it's half of that value. So you can see how hurting a rich man was more or cost you more than hurting a poor man or a slave. If a physician heals the broken bone or diseased part, the patient shall pay the physician 5 shekels. If he were a free man, it's 3 shekels. If he were a slave, the owner shall pay the physician 2 shekels. So as we can see, a lot of different laws there. And we looked at all of these except this. You can see how Mesopotamia was here, and they grew, the Babylonian grew the Mesopotamian Empire into taking over and actually going down and conquering Egypt. The Assyrians went in and conquered Egypt as well. And here is where the Phoenicians, they went all the way over to Spain. Quite adventurous at this time because they still thought the earth was flat and you could go off the side. But what a lot of them would do, they would sail and still see land in sight. And then when they couldn't see land anymore, they stopped. But this allowed them to go and trade and spread their ideas and get new ideas from people. And this is where their alphabet started spreading through Europe. You know, we have looked at everything in this section. Remember, you're to have a cover slide. Simply say Chapter 3, Mesopotamia and the Fertile Crescent. Then you're to have 4 slides and put 3 facts on each slide from that. So, and that will be due on Friday. Next week you will do Edgenuity over the Fertile Crescent in Mesopotamia. And then the last week before this semester is over and before Christmas break, we will go into Chapter 4. So once again, any questions, just shoot me an email. If not, I look forward to seeing your presentations on Friday. Have a great week, guys.